Hi everybody, thank you for having me here. I'm Dr. Clarence Tan. I was the Asia Pacific Ambassador for a think tank at NASA called Singularity University. I'm currently the Global Ambassador and Board Advisor to two organizations, one called OpenEXO and the other is Purpose Alliance. And I'll tell you the relevancy of these organizations. So essentially what I talk about is mainly about exponential technologies, which Anne has have got me to speak here a number of times. I've done like 3 TEDx talks and you can actually Google and watch if you like. So I won't repeat those stuff, but basically exponential technologies, the technologies that are moving really fast, like 3D printing, which is not there yet, but it's coming, right? Because the patents that held back the technology expired about 18 months ago. So we're gonna see 3D printing of more interesting stuff other than plastics and PLCs, right? So, but you know, what these organizations that I represent do is help organizations, institutions, and people change their mindset in coping with the disruption and take advantage of the opportunities that technology provides us. We see a lot of disruption in terms of job replacement and so on. And this is the thing I want to kind of dismiss some of these myths, right? Like, for example, in nursing, nobody joined the nursing career to be a nurse, join a nursing career to clean bedpans and fill up forms, right? Technology is taking away those kind of work, the drudgery work, the dirty work that nobody wants to do. So it's not replacing jobs that are still, that are core. But, just an example, just before the turn of last century, 20th century, I think 96% of Americans were in the agricultural industry. Today, I think less than 2%. So, it's not like everybody lost their jobs, right? New jobs are created. So, 25 years ago, what is a website designer? What's an SEO? Nobody knows that. There's no jobs that were created at that time, right? So technology do provide a lot of opportunities. One of the things I want to talk about too is that, last week, I think the OECD countries agreed that the corporate tax is going to be limited to 15%. The whole world, right, is all the countries of the world trying to cut the tax. And by cutting the tax, they have to, cutting corporate tax, they try to balance it up by increasing GST or VAT, right? I think Netherlands, UK is like 22%, Romania at one time was 42%. But guess what? Revenue is not increasing. Why? 3 reasons, it's all technology related. The first, services, right? In the old days, you want to do market research, what do? You go and hire a marketing company, so you pay service, GST on it. Today, what do? You Google it. And then Google tells you, well, sorry, Australian government, we don't pay tax here because we are not a market research company. We are a banner ad company based in Ireland. So the government loses revenue on that, right? Second thing is all the products that you buy, right? Harvey Norman retail, for example. You used to buy a large, big screen TV, 65-inch for what? $20,000 maybe? GST, $2,000. Today you go to Kogan or you go to Aldi and buy it for like $500. And what's the collection now? $50. So technology is creating all this dividend in terms of abundance, and the price is falling. And the reason why I have the disruption is because we're no longer living in a world of scarcity of resources. It's actually abundance, and this is creating an economic disruption. So the economics that we learn, the demand curve, that is a negative curve, it's because of scarcity of resources, that has been flipped around. And the third one was the most exciting, right? I mean, this is not my original idea. I was a keynote speaker for the Global Tax Conference at Deloitte. So I missed the tax section because I didn't find it as interesting as most people did. So, but I was a keynote speaker for them. So it's the CFOs of, Deloitte clients like Shell and so on. And it was from Deloitte themselves telling me this, right? So they said that the third one is 3D printing. In the old days, you would buy a pair of Crocs shoes, cost you maybe $100. About 55% goes to tax, input tax, labor tax, GST. Today, you can 3D print the entire shoe, get a blueprint from Thingiverse and 3D print your house. And in Europe, you pay anything less than 100 euros, so when you buy the spool to print it, you basically pay nothing for it. So what happens then? Government collects nothing. You 3D print a shoe at home. So we really need to think how this technology is disrupting us. So this is why, the OpenEXO, which is based on Salim Ismail, who was the first CEO of Singularity University, he wrote a book called Exponential Organization. It's trying to help transform people, institutions, and people, to basically grow exponentially. And and corporation need to have a purpose, and the original purpose is to do good for society. But now is to enrich the shareholders, right? At the expense, perhaps, of society. And this is what we need to kind of bring back. And I think that technology enables to do things like that. For example, in the old days, you want to access the university. A friend of mine wanted to do a course on psychology. He's not sure that she wants to do it. And a comedian that I guided on, he was a high school dropout. One of my success story in terms of mentoring. And he basically said that he wanted to use comedy to prevent suicide, but he's a high school dropout. And he told me this story about how he did a gig on board a cruise ship. A lady came up to him after the show and cried and said, "Why?" He said, "Oh, my husband came back from Afghanistan, have not laughed or smiled for the last 18 months, and now after this tonight he's back to normal." And he said, "I'd like to raise some money from the government." I said, "Yeah, go see Malcolm." Senator Malcolm. No. Didn't work that way, right? Because I said, look, from an academic point of view, I'm still a professor at Griffith, and I was the associate dean at Bond. Essentially, you need to have the rigor of academic review, right? He said, "Look, I'm a high school dropout. What can I do?" I said, "Why don't you go online, take a class?" And he did. He did a Johns Hopkins University course on public health and depression. He's a high school dropout, right? Struggled, got distinction. I helped him apply to Griffith Center for Suicide Prevention. He applied to the graduate diploma program. He's a high school dropout, remember this. He graduated with distinction. The graduate diploma, went and did a master's, and they offered him a PhD. His name is Mark McConville, if you watch him, and he's actually now like the spokesperson for ABC Radio for prevention of suicide for kids and stuff like that. He didn't want to do the PhD, he wants to run his company, Comedy Unlimited, and I'm trying to help him do that. So this is what inspires me in terms of helping small businesses and people to empower them using technology to do well. So my own project that I want to share with you, I'm not trying to sell it. One of the things that I look at is like, my parents are getting old, and there's a stigma of wheelchairs, right? I don't know whether you guys know, 50% of all wheelchairs bought or sold are not used. Why? Because they are manual. Who's going to push them? Grandpa cannot push grandma for so long. Who's going to push grandpa? So essentially what we did, this was back in Thailand, a friend of mine, he had a beggar outside his apartment, and basically it's a farmer from Cambodia that lost his leg in a mine. And at the time we were making autonomous hoverboards, and we gave him one, but if you don't have a leg, it's still hard to balance, right? So we took the guts out of the component and put it onto a wheelchair. So we are making a wheelchair called Abby in Thailand at the moment, and that's why I was very excited about the manufacturing opportunity in Australia. I would like to bring it to Australia. We're making a wheelchair that will cost nothing more than an iPhone top line, $2,000 US, right? That is smart, affordable, and portable. And using technology, we essentially put like a $1 chip, for line sensing, those toy robot cars that you have. Imagine that, right? I put a line in the airport. The wheelchair will just be able to follow the line, and you don't have to, you can carry a baby, and you don't need somebody to push you. It's motorized, the batteries can be removed, you can control from your phone, and it's light. That's the other thing about motorized wheelchair, they are 90 kilos. So this is what we're working on, and I'd like to bring the manufacturing back to Australia, and this is the thing that the government can help us, right? You should basically provide more incentives for startups to actually start out here in Australia. I mean, the manufacturing might be done elsewhere unless we have robotics and all that stuff. I mean, one of the things that I did at NASA when I was looking at telerobotics, Australia, we got ample sun, right? We got plenty of energy, but nobody wants to go and live in the outback. But you don't have to. You just need the energy produced there, but you can have a tele-robotic center. You can be living in the Gold Coast, controlling the robots in the middle of nowhere and have it moved out. I mean, that was an idea that I had a while back. But anyway, so I think there are a lot of opportunities in terms of where technology can lead us. And I think technology is enabling us, like when Instagram got sold to Facebook for $1 billion, I heard that. Kodak went bankrupt the same year, right? 2011. Kodak had 135,000 employees at its peak, went bust, right? This is the problem. If the government want to put bumps on seats, then be prepared for the jobs to be moved to wherever the price is going to be lowest. But Instagram sold to Facebook, how many employees did they have? 12. 12 people created $1 billion company. So, do you want unicorns? Do you want basically sustainable economy, or do you want to put bumps on seats that may be replaced tomorrow by robots or by some other area? So the one last note is that Dion and I will be running a free workshop on the methodology we use to help transform people, institutions, and organizations to grow exponentially using the EXO Canvas, I think on July 2nd in Surface Paradise. So contact us if you're interested. And I just want to see all of us being able to use the tools that we use to help companies globally to be able to grow exponentially. Thank you very much.